Hey, family, do you need more time to file your individual 1040 for the 2024 tax year? If so, you're in the right place because I'm going to go over Form 4868, the application for automatic extension of time to file a U.S. individual income tax return. If you're new here, my name is Timalyn Bowens, and I am America's favorite EA. I'm on a personal mission to fill the tax literacy gap one taxpayer at a time. And that's why I have videos on my channel just like this to help you avoid having issues with the IRS. If you need more time to file your tax return, be sure that you file a request for an extension of time to file. What this does is gives you an additional 6 months to file your tax return. So the individual deadline is April 15th, 2025 for the 2024 tax return. By filing an extension, you will have until October 15th of 2025. To qualify for this extra time, you need to make sure that you have this form properly filled out, which requires you to properly estimate your 2024 tax liability, which you can see on line 4 in this example. To enter your total tax liability on line 4, and then you want to file this form by the regular due date of the return, which is going to be April 15th, 2025 for this year. Now, please note, this is an extension of time to file, not to pay. If you have a balance due, the IRS is expecting you as a taxpayer to have that paid by the due date, the original due date, excuse me, of the return, which is going to be April 15th, 2025. Now, if you can't pay it by that date, and maybe you need more than the 6 months to pay it, you can request an installment agreement using Form 9465. But I've talked about that in a different video. I'll link it down below just in case you need to review that information again. But let's start here with the Form 4868. Now, it's best if you can get this e-filed, but you can also mail it, and I'll give you the information as to where a little bit later in the video. Here in part one, you want to make sure that you have your name as it is shown on your tax return. So for this example, I have America's favorite EA. Then you want to have the address that is where you receive mail, which should also match where you reside, okay? So in this example, we have 101 North 7th Street, Louisville, Kentucky, zip code 40202. Then you want to make sure that your social security number matches whatever is on your social security card, and that should also match whatever is on your prior year returns. In this example, we have 123-55-7890. Now, if you are filing an extension for two married taxpayers, so you and your spouse, or maybe you're a preparer and this is the first time you're filing an extension for a married couple, you need the taxpayer social security number here and the spouse's social security number here. Okay. Now, this is the part that a lot of people actually get incorrect. They'll put all zeros for line 4, 5, and 6 and 7 and just send the extension. But that's actually inaccurate. You want to do your best estimate of the total tax liability for 2024. Now, you may be thinking, well, I received a refund last year, so I don't have a tax liability. That is absolutely false. If you made more money than the standard deduction for 2023, you did have a tax liability. You just paid towards that tax liability throughout the year, and then you received your overpayment in the form of a refund. So, for an estimate, let's say America's favorite EA thinks their income is very similar to what it was for 2023. America's favorite EA would look at line 16 of the 2023 1040 and see that the tax liability for that year was $185,000. Now, when you were looking at total payments, if you're self-employed, this would be the amount of estimated tax payments you made. If you receive a pension or annuity, retirement income, this is going to be the amount that was withheld from that pension or annuity or retirement income. If you are a wage earner, this is going to be the amount that was withheld for federal taxes. So you're looking at box 2 of your W-2s, okay? Now, in this example, the estimated liability is $185,000. The total payments that America's Favorite EA made throughout the year for 2024 was 188,000. Therefore, we don't have a balance due, so nothing needs to be paid with this. Okay? Now, if we have someone who is a US citizen but they're out of the country, they would need to check this box. That's not the case in this example for America's Favorite EA, so we'll leave this unchecked. Next, if you file Form 1040 NR, which is 1040 non-resident, and didn't receive wages as an employee subject to U.S. income tax withholding, we would check this box here. Again, this is not going to apply in this situation. But now that we have the form completed correctly, how do we make sure that it gets filed? Well, if you're a tax professional, you would e-file this within your tax software. If you are a taxpayer doing your own return, you can fill this out by hand, which I wouldn't recommend. I think it's better if it is typed, so that way there's no confusion on anything that you had written here. But you can file it electronically using the software that you're using to file your tax return. Now, if you want like to mail it, there are different addresses based on where you live in the country. For example, if you are in Connecticut, Delaware, DC, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Missouri, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Rhode Island, Vermont, Virginia, West Virginia, or Wisconsin, if you're making a payment, your payment would and this voucher would actually get mailed right here where I'm at in Louisville, Kentucky. P.O. Box 931 300, Louisville, Kentucky 40293-1300. But if you live in any of those states and you're not making a payment, it would go to Kansas City, Missouri 64999-0045. And in case you didn't know, all of these are going to go to the Internal Revenue Service as the recipient of the mail. Okay? If you are going to be mailing it, make sure that it is postmarked by April 15th to be considered timely. And you can look up the instructions for Form 4868. Look at page 4 to see where you should mail it if you need to mail it instead of filing it electronically. Again, it's always going to be preferred that you do it electronically. Now, just so you know, yes, you can file this electronically. Yes, you can also file it by paper. But if you can pay all or part of the estimated income tax that's due, you can receive an automatic extension by going online to your IRS account, selecting to pay at least $1 and designating that towards an extension. That is another way that you can receive an automatic extension of 6 months to get your tax return filed. Again, I'll remind you, this is an extension of time to file, not to pay. If your payment is made after April 15th, you will be assessed a failure to file penalty and potentially an underpayment penalty as well. Okay? Now we've got about 16 days for you to get this done. If you have any questions at all about filing an extension, let me know below in the comments. If maybe you missed the extension deadline and you need to get this filed ASAP, you can reach out to me at www.bowenstaxsolutions.com, schedule an initial tax consultation to see if you're a good fit to work with me and my firm, Bowens Tax Solutions, in Louisville, Kentucky. Thanks so much for checking this video out. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.